So today we're talking about pension max. This is a conversation I've had for 27 years with my union people mainly. I was a union guy, worked at Cooper Tire going through college. As long as I got C's or better, they would pay for my school. I really enjoyed that experience. I worked 11 at night till 7 in the morning, and that was how I went to college. So my dad was a union guy. I was a union guy at Cooper. So it hits close to home, and we still work with a ton of union people. So this is one of the decisions as they get really close to retirement. It's a decision they have to make. Once you make this decision, you can't unmake it. So this is a measure twice, measure 3 times, measure 4 times. Just make sure you're measuring enough times, because once you make the decision, you don't get to remake it. So in this situation, if you were looking for pension options, this is option number 1. Option number 1 means a full payout. So if I was married, we say Dan, single life. That means I get a certain dollar amount, and if I die, my significant other gets nothing. So in this case, let's just say we're going to be really simple with the math on this. My pension is $3,000. And if something happens to me, my spouse gets nothing. That's option 1. Option number 2, Dan, and I'm going to simplify this. Lots of them have different options, but I'm going to say 50% joint option, which means that instead of getting $3,000, I get $2,500. But if something happens to me, my significant other gets $12,500. Make sense? Option number 3, Dan's getting ready to retire. He wants the 100% joint option. And in this case, that goes down to $2,200. And if something happens to Dan, then my significant other gets $2,200. So you see the differences. These are called your pension options. Whenever you make the decision for a pension, there's usually at least this many options, oftentimes many, many more. I'm not going to get into the more complicated ones. There's nuances with a lot of them, but we could be standing here all day if I explained all the things that are there. So where the pension max that we're looking at is, nobody traditionally looks at this as insurance, but it really is. So the difference between your $3,000 and your $2,200 is $800. And that is essentially how you're self-insuring something happening to you before it happens to your spouse. So you're spending every month $800 if you pick this option. So what we're doing in this case is, instead of defaulting to this, we're talking to our clients well in advance to them making this decision. And we're looking at, if we're going to insure for $800, is this the best place to do it? Is this the best way? Because this is going to be an option on the very last day when we make the decision to retire. So what we'll do is we're going to look at life insurance options and us spending $800 or less. So in this case, let's just say our budget was $800. I am retiring. I'm 62 years old. How much insurance can I buy for $800 a month? And we've done the math already. Let's say it's $325,000. Can $325,000 meet this requirement of $3,000 a month? That's just a function of math. We would run through that. The other part is all of the money that is coming out of your pension. This is money you've never paid tax on before. So $3,000 gross has to be taxed, and so therefore it is a lower net number. which we have calculators for all these things. So don't worry about that. But this is just for the education piece. The part with the life insurance is that $325,000 is tax free. So many people don't know this. 401ks, traditional IRAs, 403bs, deferred compensation, pension, Social Security, all of these places that people derive their income from in retirement are almost all taxable. So money in your savings account has already been taxed. Money in your Roth IRA has already been taxed. Money in your life insurance has already been taxed. And death benefit proceeds from life insurance never get taxed unless someone has an estate issue over a certain amount of dollars. So if it's done correctly, this is not a taxable bucket of money. So we're going to look to see if we can get for $800, how much death benefit can we get? And is that enough to pass along to my spouse to make sure that she's made complete and has the ability to live forever without running out of money? And so this is a function of math and how we do it all the time. For every single client, we would like to do this examination. The thing is, it needs, because we've got several insurance companies that operate in this space, we need a little bit of time to go through the underwriting to see if it's a good decision for them as an insurer and also a good decision for you as the insuree, and see what makes the most sense. The other thing that is a really big deal, and I'm going to put a star next to this because this is a monster deal for a lot of our clients. And many people don't think about this, but if something happens to me and I have a single life survivorship and I die 6 years into retirement, nobody gets that. So that number goes away and nobody gets any of the money that was put away for that pension. So many times that can be emotionally upsetting to somebody. The other thing is, if something happens and me and my significant other die together, airplane, hot air balloon accident, hang gliding, whatever happens, if we both die together, then it's not going to anybody. It's not going to my kids, certainly isn't going to my grandkids. The nice thing about the life insurance is it passes down generationally. So if something happens and I outlive my spouse and there's life insurance in place, that life insurance can be reallocated. Instead of taking care of my spouse for her income, it can go to my kids, it can go down to grandkids, it can go to charities, anywhere I'd like it to go. And oh, by the way, and this is another piece we're educating people all the time, this death benefit can be used in advance to someone's death for long-term care needs. Most all of the insurance companies that we're using now, which is an exclusive group, but have a long-term care benefit, which means that the death benefit can be converted to a living benefit if someone has 2 of the 6 activities of daily living that they need assistance with. So if your doctor says, hey, he needs help with toileting and bathing, then they will allow you to use this death benefit, a portion of it, in advance to your death on a tax-free basis for these benefits that you are needing, and you can do everything you can to stay in your own home, which is what most people want and what most families want. It's very, very expensive to go into long-term care facilities. Nobody thinks they're being treated as well as they should be, and that's probably the case. But we want to keep you at home as long as we can. And so some of these hybrid policies and different ways to approach this in a bigger, more strategic planning way is a very good thing for us to be doing. And we're here to educate you and show you the way. If you don't have something like this, or if any part of this makes you think that this is something you should be talking to us about, please reach out. Or if you have friends that this pertains to, we would love to have those conversations. It's literally why we exist.